We are going to talk about the rights and duties of the key management personnel, director of finance, director of marketing, director of sales, director in terms of technology or in terms of human resources. HDFC Bank, where Mr. Aditya Puri gave the successor Chief Technology Officer, Chief Information Officer. So the word officer is in default. Good morning and welcome to the second session of Company Law in Unit 4, where we are going to speak about the rights of the key management personnel in terms of the Companies Act of 2013. Now, why is this session important is that because we are going to talk about the rights and duties of the key management personnel who are involved in a company. Now, let's try to understand. The Companies Act 2013 says that it has introduced many new concepts, out of which one of them is the key management personnel. And we are now trying to understand the importance of these people in the organization. Now, when we talk about an organization, it's quite normal to say that the organization will have a CEO, a CFO, CTO, COO. We have all kind of fancy designations inside the organization. But as per the company law, there are certain people who have been officially designated as the members, as the full-time key personnel of the organization. Based on them, only the organization will be able to entitled to function as a normal organization, and they are supposed to be the guardians of the organization. So when you look here, the people like managing director, the roles like whole-time director, manager as in the managerial person, these are all the people whom have been given an official title, an official holding altogether as a key management personnel. Now, inside the organization, we believe that it is the CEO whose decision is always the final. But this might not be true every time. Why? Because the CEO might be in consulting with other members of the organization, with other key personnels of the organization, who in turn advise the CEO to take upon a particular decision. So the decision-making authority, the final and binding authority of the organization is not every time restricted to the chairman or to the CEO. But there are other people also who are involved in the decision-making. The roles of these key personnel are very, very important. Why? Because their roles in terms of guiding the organization, in terms of steering the organization towards a particular objective, towards a particular purpose is very important, because their roles would have greater impact towards the success of the organization, towards the market, towards the investor value altogether. So that's why we always say that this is a very, very important role. This is a very, very important decision that we need to look forward. Now, when we talk about this, the managerial personnel is not only who cover the traditional roles of managing director and the whole-time director, but also includes the functional figureheads like the chief financial officer, the chief executive officer, etc. Now, of late, when you start looking into the organizational structure of many companies in this world, the leading MNC organizations, they have a very different roles like chief diversity organization officer. They might have people like chief ethics officer. They might have people like the chief learning officer, innovation officer. There are so many factors who comes into picture. Even you have designations like architect of the organization. Now, these people are the ones who try to guide the organization from a particular angle, and their roles and responsibilities inside the organizations are also huge. So they have a greater impact in terms of guiding the organization, in terms of taking the organization to the next level as far as possible. So I would always say that the Companies Act has gone in depth in terms of making us understand the importance of each and every member who will definitely play a predominant role in terms of guiding and in terms of taking the organization to the next level. Now, moving forward, let's try to understand who are those key management personnel altogether. Now, the definition of the term key managerial person is contained in section 251 of the Companies Act 2013. The above said section states that key management person in relation to a company means chief executive officer or the managing director or the manager, the company secretary, the whole-time director, the chief financial officer, and such other officer may be prescribed. Now, these are all the people whom I will definitely say are the full-time members of the organization. So each one of them will now become a key member to the organizational growth and contribution at any given point of time. Why is that now coming into picture? Now, if you look here, when I say a chief executive officer, that means this person will have a lot of importance and prominence in terms of the executory functions of the organization. So he is involved in the day-to-day operations and his decision-making skills will be valued at most. So that is where you would see that the role of a chief executive officer becomes a very, very important term for an organization, because that is where people look at you as a leader of the organization. Followed by company secretary. We normally call the company secretary as the mouthpiece of the organization. Why do we use this word? Is because the company secretary is the official spokesperson of the organization. The company secretary will have the rights in terms of managing the internal affairs of the company. So again, the company secretary becomes a very, very powerful position in terms of guiding the affairs of the company, both from a board perspective as well as from an operational perspective. Now, the whole-time directors, these are all the people who will serve as functional heads of the organization, who will guide their organization from their expertise and knowledge in the various areas of the growth of the business altogether. So, for example, director of finance, director of marketing, director of sales, director in terms of technology or in terms of human resources. These are all people who have been nominated by the organization in order to guide, in order to run the business smoothly. Now, followed by the chief financial officer, or when you have roles like chief diversity officer, chief learning officer, chief, the knowledge officer. All these kind of factors are people who will bring in the special impact, who will bring in the special role and prominence altogether in terms of guiding the organization to further heights as far as possible. So these people are the ones which are being prescribed by the organization to conduct and continue those special functions as mentioned in the book. Followed by the appointment of the key person. So how are we going to appoint these persons? Is it so easy that we just give an advertisement and these persons are being nominated? Definitely not. There are a lot of factors that you need to understand before the nomination of a particular person. Now, let's say that as per section 203 Companies Act of 2013 on the company's remuneration and managerial position board altogether, there are a lot of factors that would come into picture in terms of appointing a particular person to that particular role, to that particular designation altogether. Now, what does this say? Every listed company, every other public company having a paid up share capital of 10 crores or more will having the full-time director managerial person. There will be a managing director or a chief executive officer or a manager. In the absence of a whole-time director, a company secretary and a CFO or a chief financial officer. So that means to say that if you are a public company, having a paid up capital of more than 10 crores. That means you need to have these three people on the board mandatory. That is the CEO, the company secretary, and the CFO. In the absence of the whole-time director, there will be a manager or a CEO altogether. But these three people name and the roles have to be mandatorily listed in your organization. Followed by, as per the recent notification, the Rule 8A of the Companies Act, which talks about the remuneration committee altogether for the top level management people. It has been said that a company is required to appoint a whole-time managerial official in order to discuss about where the company has got a paid share capital of more than 5 crores will be appointed, and they have to be in the roles of the company in order to oversee the operations and the governance of the company. Now, why this comes into picture is that recently, that is today, we had a news saying that Mr. R.S. Sodhi, the chairman and managing director, the CEO of Amul India Limited, has been again given an extension for 6 more months. He is the managing director and CEO of the company. So he has been given an extension till the coming March, April, so that that is where he is going to be given the position, the roles altogether. And this has been notified again to SEBI, saying that till the 6 more months, this person would continue in the roles of the managing director and CEO. Now, recently, there was a shift in the leadership of HDFC Bank, where Mr. Aditya Puri gave the successor to Mr. Jagdish, who took over as the CEO of the bank. Again, a notification was sent to RBI and to the SEBI saying that whether this name could be approved for the role of the MD and CEO. And once it got approved, this person was nominated to the role of CEO, and Mr. Aditya Puri completed his successful tenure in HDFC Bank. Followed by, there was also a recent approval by RBI and the SEBI saying that on the reappointment of Mr. Uday Kotak as the MD and CEO of Kotak Mahindra Bank, which was again given as an approval day before yesterday. So what we are seeing here is that for all the nominations, for all the recordings, there has to be an approval that has to be formally given by the respective boards, and the remuneration and the respective facts have to be approved. Then only these people can be given that title and that position. It is not that easy that you can take anybody and just run the organization. There has to be a formal appointment, a formal approval. The terms and conditions have to be clearly explained, and this has to be notified through a public channel or through a public media altogether, so that every single investor comes to know about the actions that are taking place in the company. Followed by the manner of appointment of the key management personnel. Every whole-time key managerial person of the company shall be appointed by the means of resolution of the board containing the terms and conditions of appointment, including the remuneration. Now, this is a very, very important and valid factor. So that means it has to come through the resolution of the board. It has to come through the proper via channel saying that, yes, we are accepting this current person, this key person, as a member of our committee, as the member of the organization, and then only that person will be given the title of the board of director as that has been approved. Followed by, if the office of any whole-time director is vacated, the resulting vacancy shall be filled up by the board at the meeting within a period of 6 months from the date of such vacancy. That means if there is a vacancy that has been created on the board and they suddenly need a person to get nominated to that position, there has to be a meeting within 6 months. That position has to be filled up, and there has to be a notification created for such things. Followed by the restrictions. What are the restrictions that you can see that when you start appointing people to this key position? The same person cannot act as a chairman, managing director, and CEO. This was probably one of the major issues that was discussed even in terms of the governance practices altogether. Why? Because when you talk about corporate governance, in that mode also it was discussed that the chairman and the CEO are two separate designations, and they have to be given their respective titles Why? Because unless and until they have been given separate titles, the functions and roles are being discussed clearly, the organization cannot have a clarity in terms of functioning. So that is why what we typically tend to do is that the chairman will be a person who is being nominated to run the board and the board related matters. The CEO will be the person who is being nominated to run the operations of the company. So we don't want to have a position where the chairman and CEO remain the same. So we want a position where we see that the designation that is being provided, whether it is a chairman or it is a CEO, they are different in nature and they have a different perspective altogether. Now, the whole-time director not to hold office in more than one company. Suppose you have been nominated as a whole-time director of a company, you cannot go ahead and hold the same kind of position in some other company or work for some other company, because that is not being accepted at all. Now, it has been provided under the act that a whole-time key managerial person shall not hold the office than more than one organization, because what happens is that at that point of time, this key managerial person will not be able to go forward and dedicate his time and value for the organization. Rather, it becomes like a part-time job where he keeps on shuffling from one office to another, trying to look for better avenues. So what we want here is that once you are a key managerial professional, a personal which is being given the role of a whole-time director, you need to stick to that one organization and dedicate your experience and knowledge in terms of growth of the company. Followed by the other provisions that we are talking about in regard to the key management personnel. The first thing is that it includes the meaning of officer in default under the act. So when I say chief financial officer, chief technology officer, chief information officer, so the word officer is in default. A document or proceeding inquiry authentication of the company or contracts on behalf of the company may be signed by any key managerial person duly authorized by the board on this behalf. So unless and until you are authorized by the company stating that yes, you can go forward and sign on behalf of the company, you shall not have the rights to execute any other factor. So this is where you would see that you have been given the power, you have been given the authority, you have been given the permission to go forward and sign on behalf of the company on any of the key functions that has been told altogether. Regarding the details of the key management professional altogether, the changes that has been brought in, the remuneration that is being paid, or anything that is being disclosed in the annual return of the company are all mandatory. Why? Because these days it is very, very important for you to go ahead and publish all the results that have been taken over. You need to go forward and tell the people clearly what is the salary that is being paid to your key management official, how much money is being paid, what are the different factors that has been given altogether. So all those things have to be told. In fact, recently when Infosys declared its results, they had gone ahead and published the salary details of their CEO, CFO, COO to tell very clearly to the public, this is the amount of increment, this is the amount of salary functions that has been given to these persons altogether. Followed by the explanatory statement should disclose the nature of concern of interest or otherwise of every key managerial person in respect to the item, especially to the business to be transacted at a general meeting. So you need to go forward and tell this factor also very, very clearly, like in what are your financial interests, in what ways are you doing this business, in what are your likely otherwise factors in terms of understanding it. So all those factors, all those ideology have to come in clearly in terms of running your business, in terms of understanding the various functionalities of your business. Now, for example, if I am inside the organization and I am trying to do an insider trading, or I have an other way interest, or I have a factor where I can go ahead and create any further damage to the company, then I should not continue in the organization. I should not do any unethical practices in the organization. My interest in the organization should be only towards the dedication of that role and title responsibility that is being given to me. So it's very, very important that I am not politically motivated. I am not related to somebody because of which I'm doing it for some beneficial purpose of self-interest. Followed by person whose relative is employed as key management is disqualified to be appointed as auditor. This is very, very important. Why? Because of the favoritism factor that comes into picture. So if you are a relative to the CEO, to the CFO, or to the board members, you cannot be appointed again as the auditor of the company. Followed by the other provisions that we are talking about, a person is disqualified to be appointed as an independent director if either he himself goes through his relatives or holds any key position altogether as a key managerial person of the company or its holding, subsidiary factors or associate company in any of those three financial years immediately preceding in which he is appointed. So now what happens here is that he is disqualified to be appointed back as an independent director if he goes through the relative holds altogether and has held key managerial position in its company or its subsidiary. So you will be disqualified automatically. Company is required to maintain the register of all the key managerial person, whoever is there working in its subsidiaries and all those details, which means the documentation is highly important here. You will not go without the documentation factor saying that I know where my members are working. Followed by the return of every appointment and the changes in the key management person has to be filled within the register of company in 30 days of the appointment or the change in case may be. So these factors have to be looked in very, very clearly. You have to tell them that these are the factors, these are the reasons under which it has been done. The key managerial person shall have a right to be heard during the audit meetings when it considers the audit report, but he might not have the right to vote. So the key management person will definitely have a word to say as in what they have done, how they have done it, if there is any clarifications needed, or if there are any other factors to be explained, definitely they can come forward and raise their opinion. Now, the other provisions that are also included is that the remuneration policy, which should ensure that there is a fixed and an incentive pay scheme, how much they are paid, on what scales and conditions they are paid, that has to be cleared. The objectives for which they have been paid, what is the bonus, and the what criteria the bonus is being given, all those factors. And after the time of appointment, within the period of 30 days of the appointment or after the relinquishment of the office, under the specified subsection, relating his concern, interest with any other factors have to be disclosed before to the respective organization. So moment a CEO retires from his position or moves away from his position, it is mandatory for the organization to file back all the documents and say that under these conditions this person has retired and these are what the factors that we have looked into. So these are all the important documentation that the key person should go forward and say that yes, this is what we have decided and these are all the factors under which the terms and conditions have been looked into. Followed by the other provisions regarding the key managerial person is that they are prohibited to make any forward dealings or insider dealings in terms of securities of the company. As I've always told you that the key management holders cannot make any sort of insider tradings or dealings with the organization. That is strictly prohibited because you will not be able to do so at any given point of time. And the financial statements of the company are required to be signed either by the chairperson of the company, where he is authorized by the board, or two or more directors, by which you can go forward and say that these are the key persons who are holding the responsible titles in the organization. So when the audit report is there, the CEO, CFO, CTO sign should be there stating that we are responsible, we understand, we acknowledge all the financial transactions that has gone through the organization. With this, I come to the conclusion of this session. I hope and believe that this session was highly informative, useful and resourceful to you in terms of concept and of the practical knowledge. In the upcoming sessions, we will be talking about the company secretary and his rights, his duties towards the organization. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me on this wonderful session.